Anthony Joshua has mysterious bruises and cuts on his face, and he blames it on Physio. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. It is fight week, Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. Now, I told you I had some concerns. Andy Ruiz coming in, late replacement to Gerald Miller, who failed a drug test. And, he's being brought in. Andy Ruiz can scrap. I never had a problem with the fight, especially on late replacement. Wish Andy Ruiz would have been given a full camp, but, shit happens. It's boxing. Now, shout out to my writer, BLACKEYE. He just sent me this. It's an interview with Radio Raheem, link in the description. And they were asking questions. He was asking some questions to Joshua during the grand arrivals. And really weird. I didn't even watch the end of the interview, but I seen just the first part had me pausing and asking questions. So, the interview, we'll talk about some of the stuff he said about Wilder after, but the part you guys seen the title, I guess he has some cuts and bruises on his face, and you can even see it on the camera, watch the link in the description. And he has some bruising, cuts, and Raheem asked him about it and say, hey, one thing we're not necessarily used to seeing is you have some marks on your face, what's that about, and he says, oh, just the marks on my face. Oh, that's just physio. That's just physio. Okay. And Radio Raheem said, what is that? I have questions about what is physio? What are you talking about? And he was like, oh, just recovery and rehab. This is what I'm talking about. I don't know if Joshua, undermines the intelligence of other people, but this doesn't really make sense to me. This doesn't make sense to me. Here's a Google search, physiology. For those that don't know, I just want you guys to see. The branch of biology that deals with the normal functions of living organisms and their parts. The way in which a living organism or bodily parts function. So, if you know about physio or physiology as it's called, it's kind of like physical therapy. People like Drake's producer, he has MS. He might go to a physiologist, because they try to correct your posture and stuff like that. So I don't understand how you get markings from physio, cuts and black eyes and stuff. Who's your physiologist? Ike Turner? That doesn't even make sense. We'll click on this. What is physiotherapy? Physiotherapy helps restore movement and function when someone is affected by injury, illness, or disability. So as a, multimillionaire boxer, I can understand maybe even having a physiologist, chiropractors, things of that sort, acupuncturist, things like that. Just someone who's going to help you. You have to take care of your body, your temple and stuff like that. There's a lot of money riding on your fights. It says physiotherapists help people affected by injury, illness, or disability through movement and exercise, manual therapy, education, and advice. They maintain health for people of all ages, helping patients to manage pain and prevent disease. The profession helps to encourage development and facilitate recovery, enabling people to stay in work while helping them remain independent for as long as possible. Like joints, and you see stretching out the leg. People coming off of, my dad had to see a physiologist. Basically he was playing football in the military. He was in the military, and someone cleated his Achilles, and it slid his Achilles and it collapsed. So, you got to learn to walk again. Basically, you've been out, you got a cast and crutches and stuff like that, things like that. It says, what is physiotherapy? Physiotherapy is a degree-based healthcare profession. Physios use their knowledge and skills to improve a range of conditions associated with different systems in the body, such as neurology, stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, so Freddie Roach or something probably had a physiologist to help him, Michael J. Fox, things like that. Back pain, whiplash associated with disorders, sports injuries and arthritis, cardiovascular things, asthma, etc. So people who have rheumatoid arthritis, different conditions and ailments to get right, the range of emotion. If you fractured your hand, Like when Wilder broke his hand in the Chris Arreola fight and he had the pins, you know, he might have had to see a physiologist, and they go and make you grip something and practice strengthening your forearms and get your range of motion back, shit like that. So I don't know if Joshua was joking, because he didn't really laugh, or, you know, I don't know if there's British humor, or as they write it, humor or whatever, but that sounds weird. I don't know how he got it, but, you know, the likely candidate would be something like sparring, you know, where you get hit in the face. And he purposely said, oh, none of my sparring partners do that to me. So it sounds kind of like a fib, to be honest, because I can't understand why a physiologist would create injury. Like they're supposed to give you advice, coach you, you know, help restore your range of motion, and, you know, get you right. That's like going to a chiropractor and then you come back with cuts and marks on your face and a black eye. Like, what kind of methods do they have where you would show war wounds? So it sounds like something he gained in sparring, but, you know, he's not copping to. Very weird. It's very weird that he said that, but you guys can watch it and let me know what you think. Another interesting takeaway is he talked about Deontay Wilder, and Raheem asked a good question. He says, before you said you hope he beats Dominic Breazeale after the 9th round or whenever you stopped him, so you could say that you stopped him first. Obviously that didn't happen. One crushing punch. What'd you think? What were your thoughts? And he admits, he said, man, my first thought was it was getting good and get up. I wanted to see it go on longer. So he's basically admitting that, like, he's thinking like, fuck, this man just destroyed him in the first round. You know, Dominic Breazeale didn't come to lay down and he still got destroyed. So to me, that shows that Joshua knows that Wilder's power is real, you know, and that he's watching and paying attention. You know, it's a bad look for Joshua. He's training in Miami. You know, he's training in Miami. Wilder fought Breazeale in New York, which is a 2-hour flight at best, right? And he's a, you know, multimillionaire boxer, so he might be able to fly private or something and, you know, not have to go through TSAs and, you know, just go on the runway and leave, take off, stuff like that, especially for a small chartered flight, like a short distance like that, right? And he probably does fly like that because, you know, he's big. He probably wants some room and stuff like that. And he didn't go to the Breazeale fight, but it shows you that he was paying attention and watching. And then for the fans, you know, new media is just destroying old media. For the fans who are saying, oh, why isn't Wilder, if he really wants to fight, why won't Wilder go to Joshua's fight? Okay, Wilder just fought before Joshua, and Joshua's 2 hours away flight time, you know, maybe even a little bit shorter. You know, this is just off the top of my head, how long I remember the flight being, you know, when I left from Miami to New York in the past, you know, and Joshua didn't go to his fights. So you're admitting that you're watching the Wilder fight, which is no shock. We all knew he's watching his contemporaries and, you know, seeing what they're. But see, this is where Joshua messed up to me, is because he thought he was on his high horse, and he didn't want nobody to know, and he didn't want to give these guys shine. You know, he didn't want to give these guys shine. And then now it's getting to the point where he's kind of clout chasing. It's his fight week. He's fighting Andy Ruiz, who has nothing to do with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder already got past his test and went viral. And you keep talking you being AJ, keeps talking about Wilder. Also in this particular interview, he admitted that he was hoping that Dominic Breazeale got up and extended the fight, you know, just like he said. So it's proven that he's watching and paying attention. And he felt the type of way that Breazeale was iced in the first round. You know, that's how I interpret it. But the other thing that was said was Raheem asked a question to the sort of, is Wilder improving? Is he getting better? You know, he came slimmer, and I don't know why they kept saying he was slimmer, because he actually gained weight from his last 2 fights. So I didn't really get him being slimmer, because when I seen him, especially on the TV and stuff, Wilder looked big. You know, at the weigh-in, he came in a comfortable 220 something, 223, something around there. And then on the night of the fight, he looked a lot bigger versus when he fought Tyson Fury and Luis Ortiz. He came in at career lows, 209 to 214. So they kept saying he was smaller or slimmer and leaner, and is he getting better? And he was like, yeah, he was a little bit, he's leaner. And yeah, he's getting better. He's better than what he was. It's mud. That's what Joshua said. So he's admitting that Deontay Wilder has improved. And then he tried to, like, it's like, when someone has to give you a compliment, so then they kind of try to take away by saying something like an add-on. He said Wilder's getting better, but he has to get better. He has no choice but to get. That doesn't even make sense. There's a choice in everything. You don't have to get better. I've seen plenty of people become champions or turn a certain age and get worse. Joseph Parker became champion and his performances weren't better post being champion than they were before the champion. Before he was a champion, in my opinion, Joseph Parker had some meaner performances before he became champion. That's a lot of pressure. So what Joshua is saying, I reject your deposit. You don't have to get better. There's nothing that says Wilder has to get better. If you discipline yourself, if you're hungry, if you want it enough, and you do the right things, then you will get better. Practice makes permanent. But he made it sound like, oh, he has no choice but to get better. Yeah, you always have a choice. You can always go left, all the way left, or go all the way right. So I disagree with Joshua. It's not about you have to get better. You don't have to do anything. And some people don't. Some people become a champion and they start slacking off and partying and stuff. Like you look at even like Adrian Broner. He became a champion and multi-divisional champion, age 24. But then he was going on rap tours and picked up some weight. So by the time he fought Paulie, it was a tough fight. Paulie Malignaggi. Yo, bro, why you bragging about my side piece? It was a split decision. Then he fought Maidana and then he lost his first professional loss. So, you still have to remain disciplined. So to me, that kind of negates and you're taking away from what Wilder's doing. Wilder has gotten better simply because he has the desire. He said he's speaking these things into existence. He wants it bad enough. He wants to, cement his legacy as one of the top fighters ever, heavyweights or whatever. He's been training, discipline, and he's keeping a good team around him. Got the wifey that helps him. All this type of stuff. But there's no, you have to get better. You have no choice. That doesn't even make sense. Everybody has a choice. Whether you do what's right or do what's wrong, you have a choice. So to me, that's Joshua kind of hating on Deontay Wilder, but he's still at the same time admitting that, it's undeniable what I've been telling you, new media, digital mob, that Wilder is improving. He's getting better, Then he started talking about him. Oh yeah, in 5 years, I'll get better. Who thinks we have to wait 5 years for you to fight Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury? I don't understand where Joshua's even getting these numbers, but these are weird things. This is a weird fight week feeling. Joshua American debut. Boxing's weird. You have a late replacement. Joshua has marks on his face and he's saying it's physio. There's a lot of pressure on Joshua here. So I'm really anxious to see how he comes through this fight. I really am, because there's a lot of pressure. With Wilder going viral with the first round knockout, he's admitting it. He's fighting in the same city a mere 2 weeks later, and he's in there with a tough opponent who doesn't necessarily look the part. So it'll be worth. At least Dominic. I was just next to Wilder. I was just next to Dominic Breazeale. They are tall. They're tall, big heavyweights. So as a casual, Dominic Breazeale at least looks like a big guy. Like he's like, if you stood next to him, I'm tall. You know what I'm saying? And I stood next to him, and I can see he's a big dude. But the average dude is not my height. Average dude, they're gonna be short. And they're going to be a lot shorter than him, so they're going to realize that he's a big dude. So for Wilder to destroy him in one punch, a guy who outweighs him, likely with the fight night weight, was impressive. For the perception, for the average casual, seeing Andy Ruiz, who doesn't look like he's in crazy shape. Like if you just seen Andy Ruiz Jr. at Trader Joe's, you wouldn't probably guess that his profession was a boxer. You might say, oh, he's a construction worker, bouncer, or something like that. But I don't think most people would guess accurately. But that's why they say the saying, you can't judge a book by its cover, because Andy Ruiz actually, in fact, can scrap. So, this is interesting. I don't know what this physio stuff is, though, because I don't see why they would present marks on your face through physiology. You know, I've never heard of that. Never heard of someone getting marks from, like, you know, a chiropractor or anything like that. So we're just hearing some weird, it's just like a different Joshua. And it could be because he's away from his homeland. And I'm anxious to see how this fight plays out. I really am. I'm anxious. He said something to the effect of, Andy Ruiz said he fights like a robot. And he said, oh, if he wants to talk trash, I want to be mean and break his jaw. You know, in the same interview, he says he likes Povetkin and Klitschko because they didn't do the trash talk. But you just said you want to break his jaw in retaliation to what he said. Then there's probably pent up angst because Gerald Miller was the guy who pushed you and was supposed to be getting this opportunity. And this is who you're training for, his particular style. Now you have to deal with someone who's kind of a different style. Andy Ruiz got fast hands. Gerald Miller has cool speed for, you know, 317 pounds, but these are totally different fights. Joshua has had issue with shorter people. I've told you that. I said this, you know, and then I heard Eddie Hearn confirm this. Like, he said this after me. So I don't know. Interesting fight. Interesting. Like, boxing is all about timing. Timing is interesting. There's a lot of pressure. People want to see Wilder versus Joshua. You know, you never know what's going to happen in boxing. Just like Charlo versus Swift Jared Hurd. As of right now, today, you know, I don't know what happens in Jamel's rematch with Harrison, but as of today, that was a fight that we were just talking about, you know, a couple months ago, 8 months ago, last year we were talking about, oh, I can't wait for Charlo versus Hurd. And neither one of them, as of right now, are champion. Hurd is probably going to do a rematch in November with Julian J. Rock Williams, who beat him, who lost to Charlo's brother. And then Charlo lost his belt to Tony Harrison, you know, last December at the end of the year, and has to try to get it back now. So boxing is fickle like that. You know, I'm anxious to see. There's just a lot of, it just feels like a weird fight. You know, it just feels like a weird fight to me. I certainly don't understand the Physio comments, why he would have cuts and marks and a shiner, as Radio Raheem said, which is a black eye. You know, you have an eye jammy from a physiologist, you know. And I know the man fans are going to come, oh, he didn't mean it like that. You know, plus, like I told y'all, the Drake curse. We're going to see. We're going to see if the Drake curse hurts the Raptors, too, because they fighting my Warriors, or they playing my Warriors. Let's get it. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.